For today's review, we are looking at Starfire from DC Rebirth. Now, who is Starfire for those who have never heard of this character? Well, the included data profile card will give us that information. But I'm pretty sure many of you know who she is, especially if you watched the Teen Titans animated show like I did long time ago. You will recognize this character for sure. Now, as you can see on the image of the data profile card, I almost forgot what this thing was called. You have a nice image of what she looks like in the comic book form. And I think they did a really good job with the costume from, art to plastic. It looks pretty okay. Now, one thing that I would say was a missed opportunity was they could have given her an alternate head sculpt. So as you can see on the figure, her eyes are just completely green. It's because if you've watched the cartoons, you would know that when she gets mad, especially when she's fighting like some sort of enemy, her eyes will glow completely green. And she'll just blast people like crazy with her energy. But when she's not fighting anybody, her eyes are still green, but her pupils are visible. So it would have been cool if there was an alternate head sculpt with maybe somewhat of a hairstyle like this or something else that was more neutral. And I think that was just a missed opportunity right there for this figure. So, especially when we talk about accessories after I read the back of this card, because that's where it's going to, sound like a rant, which it definitely will. All right, her real name is Corlandar. I don't even know if I said that correctly. I'm pretty sure I butchered the pronunciation of that name. An alien princess in exile, Corlandar of Tamarin escaped a lifetime of brutality as a slave and lab rat for the Citadel and the Scions. Years after manifesting incredible energy powers, she led a revolt and escaped to Earth. An engine of righteous fury, she fights to ensure no other beings have to endure the pain and indignity that ruined her life. And that is Starfire. Okay, what are the accessories that are included with this figure? And when I say accessories, I mean actual accessories that go on the figure, such as interchangeable hands, weapons, the usual, right? Well, this is all she has. Yes, that's all she has. It's just this. No interchangeable hands. Not even any. Literally just these two pieces of effect parts to form her energy thing, right? So, in terms of the rest of the box, you get the usual card stand, which I don't need to show because if you bought collector edition figures before, you would know what that looks like. She does have a flight stand, which is very nice because for some reason, Mcfarlane has this weird thing that he does where certain characters that can fly doesn't come with flight stands. For example, some of the Superman figures, not this one, but some of them, or maybe this one, I actually don't remember if this one had a flight stand or not, but some of them don't have flight stands for some reason, and they are characters that can fly. But I'm glad they included it for her. It should be something that they should include in general for any character that can fly, honestly, in my opinion. She also comes with the basic DC stand, and that's it. That's all you get in the box. But in terms of actual accessories that are meant for the character, I mean the figure, well, character and figure, it's just these two things, which I don't know if that justifies $30. In my opinion, that doesn't. I feel like they could have included a few accessories that they could have given to her to complete it so it feels like it's one complete package. Because I have this feeling that he will not make another Starfire figure ever again for a long time. And if he does decide to make another Starfire figure, it'll probably be some sort of weird, wacky repaint of this current existing mold, and that is it. So that is my opinions on the accessories. For a collector edition, it is lacking accessories as usual. Now, I know that the recent stuff that they have shown, they're changing course, right? Of course, we reviewed the Green Lantern. That wave in particular, there are more accessories being included. Even the Wonder Woman collector edition figure was a good example of like showing that they can package more accessories. So hopefully 2025 and onward with this collector edition subline, which started off very controversial with the lack of accessories, they can change course and give us more in the box to justify the $30 price. I don't want to use the word justified, but in this case, you got to give more if you're going to charge $30, right? So, all right, that is all I'm going to say about accessories. Now let's look at the figure. Oh, wait, one more thing. There is a platinum version of this figure that does exist, and this is the part that also kind of pisses me off. So usually platinum editions and collector editions are just simple repaints, right? A different shade of paint. And some of them, you don't really have to care for, you don't need, or if you do need them, then you'll get them. But in this case, her repaint is her sister, which is a whole different character, okay? Her sister, if you watch the cartoons, she has a twin sister called Blackfire. It would have been nice if they just released that as like some sort of gold label exclusive of some kind and gave people even a chance at actually getting a Blackfire figure. The fact that they did it in this way, where it was like a literal repaint and they made it a platinum edition, which of course they did because every collector edition has to have a platinum repaint of some kind. I don't know. I am just sad that I can't find that figure, and I probably won't ever find the sister to complete it. Maybe one day I will, who knows? I don't think I'll even have that chance, but if I do end up somehow finding it some way, whether it's at Frankenstein's, I'm going to have to pay that scalper price, and that is not going to be fun. So, all right, enough rambling about that stuff. Let's finally talk about the figure. So, as you can see, I think they did a pretty good job with this figure. I honestly like the way that they sculpted the head sculpt. I'm trying to speak right now. They did a pretty good job. I think that face looks pretty good, especially for Starfire. And as I said, it would have been cool if there was an alternate head sculpt. But I like the way they sculpted the hair, because if you remember She-Spawn had some sort of hairstyle kind of like this with the more spiraling of the long hair on the back. And I like the fact that they did this with her hair as well. I like the blend of red to orange in the middle right here with the paint. They did a really good job on that. And yeah. As for everything else on the figure, most of it is just paint. There's not like a whole lot of sculpting. Like this is sculpted on, these two little circles right here. That little green thing in the center is also sculpted. But most of it is just paint. And another thing that I do want to point out is the fact that this is a reuse of the, what was it called? Nightfall Catwoman body buck. So this is not a new body. This is a reuse. But in this case, I think the reuse works because they retooled enough where it almost looks like something different, in my opinion. But when you look closer at it, you'll know that it's the same body buck. But they retooled it good enough, right? Like, for example, like the arms up here where her shoulder is exposed, and then you have the sleeve right here. They did that right there on this side. They did the same thing down here with her upper thighs. I like that because they're trying to, of course, recreate what they're taking inspiration from. So they did a good job right there. But yeah, as for everything else on this figure, it is just purely painted on. It is not sculpted. And the seam line thing that you see in the center right here, that's not a seam line. That's actually supposed to be like a zipper part for that suit, I guess, from the Nightfall Catwoman. I think the reason why they kept it there is because if you look at this photo, there is kind of like a line going in the middle between, the top part right here down to the stomach. So maybe that's why they kept it. But yeah, that's pretty much aesthetics for this figure. There's not much else I can say about it. It's good enough. It will probably be the only good Starfire figure that we'll ever get. Maybe. So, all right, let's talk about articulation. Now, There is something that surprises me about this figure when it comes to articulation, especially when it comes to the legs. It's not the splits, it's the fact that this figure can kick out pretty freaking good. As I said before, it is really strange that some figures can't even kick out this high. But in her case, she can, and that is amazing because it shows that even though this piece right here, even though to me it doesn't feel like a soft piece because it feels like it's thicker in terms of the plastic, but it's still soft PVC, she can actually kick out pretty freaking good. And how far can she lean back with the legs? Not too far back, but still, that's still good, honestly, for a articulation right there. It surprises me because there are some figures that can't kick out. If you watched my Ghosts of Krypton review, you might have seen a certain figure show up maybe twice in the review that I pointed at that can't kick out his legs. So, yeah, let that be an example. And for her legs doing the splits, that's pretty much all she can do. But that's still pretty freaking good. You know, some figures probably can't even spread out their leg that much, but that's good. There's a range of motion right there. As for her double joint, as you can see, it works on this leg. The other leg doesn't have the double joint working because this bottom part right here is really stiff. I need to heat that up. But double joint on the legs are there. As for her articulation down here, you know, same old articulation as usual with Mcfarlane figures. So there's that. As for her arms, let's show this. They can spread up, so she can do the T-pose, and if you don't want her to do the T-pose, they can go all the way back. Nothing's going to hinder it. And she can do her double jointed, and she also has articulation right here at the hands, the swivel, and of course the upper swivel right here. And if you're wondering if there's a die cut on this figure, there's no die cut on this figure. That looks like a good way to hide a die cut, but it is not there. She does have upper thigh swivel. It kind of moves. Sometimes these don't move. So it's really freaking random, like what figures will allow for that movement to happen and what figures will not. As for her head sculpt, she can't really look up because, again, the hairpiece on the back is going to get in the way. So there's that problem. She can look down, as you can see. So not bad. She can look to the side. So, but the hairpiece will get in the way. But it's not too bad compared to some other female superheroes we've gotten where the hairpiece does get in the way of articulation. So it's okay. As for her upper torso, right up here, there is a little bit of movement, but my copy is tight. So, but that should articulate normally. And for the waist down here, it does move. But again, if it is stiff on your copy, I recommend using hot water and a hairdryer, whichever method you recommend or you like to use. I would usually go with hot water just because sometimes a hairdryer isn't the best. So, yeah. And now, how do you put the effect pieces on? Well, these effect pieces, although are reused from Blight, one would assume that these will not fit in her hands because these are more molded for Blight. But surprisingly, they do actually stay on. And I'm going to see if I can try to show that on camera. So let's start with this first hand. Let's see if that can go in. Nope. It was working earlier. Is it because I'm putting it on wrong? Oh. No. It was working earlier. You know, this is the funny thing. It's like when I'm trying to show something, it doesn't want to work when I'm like showing it in the camera. But then all of a sudden, let me see. Let me try this one. No, come on. Every single time. No, not every single time. This is the first time I'm doing this. It was working earlier. What the heck? Oh, there we go. There we freaking go. Okay, let's just do one of them. They work for both, okay? They both can peg on like that, but you just have to find the right sort of way to, what's the word? To put it in there, okay? where it'll hold in place. Do understand that it will pop off really easily because her hands are quite tiny, as you can see. They're not really meant for this because this was supposed to be molded for a different sort of hand to go into. But they do work, kinda. I don't like the fact that they're a reuse. I really wish McFarlane actually sculpted like something like this for her, but you know, it's what it is. It's what it is. There is a lot of reuse going on these days, so it's not surprising that the effects are also reused. But that is our look at Starfire. Honestly, it's a really good Starfire figure. I think this is a good figure for people who need a Starfire in their collection. Can I get her to stand? No, please? Yeah. All right, whatever. She can't stand. Not right now. So, yeah, she's good for the collection. So if you don't have a Starfire figure, and you can still track this down somehow, which I don't think you can because this is really hard to find now. Yeah, this one's actually good for the shelf. But everything else, when it comes to like the accessories and what else was included in the box, again, I already said what I had to say about that. And I hope that collector edition going forward does better and correct the past with how they've been releasing things. So, all right. With that said, if you found my review on this Starfire figure informative, and also my opinion on the collector edition subline informative, do give this video a like. And with that said, also, if you want to subscribe to my channel because you like the way that I do my reviews, you can do that as well. But in the end of the day, you don't have to because I make these videos for fun. And with that said, take care, and I will see you in the next video.